Then it's now being recorded that my kitchen clock is 7 minutes off. All right. Oh, it's not 7 o'clock.
It's not 7 o'clock yet. I just didn't want to forget to start the recording. So
Thank you. Hello, everyone, by the way.
I was explaining before we start, Sandy, that we have our new tables and chairs, but we're missing the round table that goes where the chair sits because they didn't bring the base, did not come with the rest of it. So this is a makeshift.
Oh, I see.
Configuration.
So this is. Curved,
yeah. There's one that's curved, and then we have 2 long ones that go this way. So,
Nice.
so Susie and I need to sit our backs to this way because that's just the way it works. Hopefully, well, until we get the base.
Oh, but eventually it'll go long.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you'll be able to face.
We'll be back on this side. So, but the way the legs are, you can't put someone on the side because it just doesn't work. So.
Right.
It'll get fixed.
7 o'clock. Let's get this started. All right, we're going to call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Directors of the Pleasant Hill Recreation Park District for Thursday, August 24th. We are meeting here in public at the district office, but people may also participate via Zoom and also may email comments to the district. The instructions for that are on the agenda for our meeting this evening. Let the record show that all directors are present, and will you all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, item number 3 on our agenda is public comment. This is the portion of our meeting where members of the public are invited to address the Board of Directors on anything not on our published agenda. Are there any members of the public either present who would like to address?
No,
We have no cards.
We have no cards and there's no hands raised on Zoom.
And Susie, any emails?
No emails.
Nothing. Okay, all right, we'll close public comment then. And move on to item number 4, reports and presentations, starting with a report from the general manager.
Excellent. So attached is a written report. I wanted to highlight a couple of things. One being that we've confirmed with CSDA, the California Special District Association, that we are going to be on their annual legislative tour, which was big news for us. Very exciting. So that date is set. It's September 26th. The time is like 10:15 to 11:15. We're gonna house them, or we're gonna meet with them in the teen center. And so I haven't met with CSDA yet on kind of the legislative priorities, but it's a good opportunity for us to talk about what we need from the state. And so I'm hoping Chair Bernardo, I haven't talked to you, but hopefully you might be available to come join us in that. And so so that we're gonna highlight the district with some key legislative staff. And so according to CSDA, they mostly get chiefs of staff and people who are responsible for policy on the local government level. So we're excited about that. Thankfully, or thanks to our CSDA representative actually is a district resident, and so when asked to offer up some districts, and she's like, I want my local rec and park district, so which I'm excited about, so which is great. I also wanted to. Not sure if anybody saw an update from the city. College Park High School, the Mount Diablo Unified School District is fixing the stairs that go in between the community center parking lot and College Park High School. Previously there had been some dispute. We confirmed with Mount Diablo Unified School District a while ago that those stairs do belong to them. They're on their property. They're not on district property. So this morning, Tom got information from the school district that they were starting the project on Monday. And so Tom asked them, well, are you planning on, only using your own property in which to access the project? They're like, no, we're using the parking lot. Like, whoa, time out. So anyway, so we got them through. We found a time that's going to be compatible with the things going on at the community center. So we have delayed that project by a week. We're also received the encroachment permit application. We're waiting on the insurance and a couple of other things. So long story short, we found out about that today, in case you hear from somebody. We did work with them quickly, and so the new start date is 9/5, which is the day after Labor Day. So,
Multiple Facebook.
yes, multiple Facebook posts and multiple, yeah, so anyways, it's straightened out, that's when that's gonna start, and it's not gonna affect any, or it'll be, it always affects parking, and school drop off, but we don't have any, according to Kristen, we can accommodate that with our events that during that time frame. Next week, we have a lot of large events, and so we will be able to do that.
So there will still be access to the school?
There will still be access to the school, yes, so. And then the improvement survey, I provided an update, when I printed this, we had about 800, since then, we're up to about 950, 951, thanks to the Bonatos. And so just so you know, we're taking, so these are the ones that were mailed in or dropped off, so this is quite a stack. And so staff has put all of those in. People also are putting them in themselves online. And so, as I mentioned, the survey is set to be open until after Labor Day. And then after that, I'm anticipating Larry coming to give us an update on survey results, next steps in the communication plan, and all of those things. So that's where we are on that, but I'll take any questions.
Any questions for Michelle on the manager's report?
Of those surveys that we had printed, how many did we get back from the total that we've kind of sent out? I'm just kind of curious.
Well, we've responses, we've gotten 1,000 of them, so I haven't counted these individually that we've gotten back, so. There wasn't a requirement for people to send them back.
Right.
They could do it online, so, but
That's true.
Larry is very pleased
With the
response,
yeah.
so he's
Shows
super
been a lot of
excited.
interest. Yeah.
Yes, it shows some general interest, and he was super excited. It exceeded his expectations. So that's great.
Very great.
And we continue to get them, like, on a daily basis. We get at least a few
Coming
coming in the mail, so, or dropped off. So, yeah.
And then who is tabulating the ones that are coming in using the QR code?
They all get tabulated in the same place. So, yeah, so our staff is inputting this into that form, so we get all that, so. And then one more thing, Nicole reminded me, the spray ground's up and running.
Oh, fantastic.
So
Yeah.
that came in
Yes,
before
yeah.
Labor
Yes,
Day.
yeah, like she just reminded me, we weren't sure if it was gonna be working, but it's working for this weekend, so very excited.
Good.
Nice.
Can I get the word out?
Yes, we'll get the word out, that it's nice. Yeah. Okay.
Very, very nice. Any other questions for Michelle or comments on the report? No, thank you. Thank you, Michelle.
Yeah.
Any public comment on Michelle's report?
No.
Assume none. Okay. Item number 5 is our consent calendar. We have 2 items on our consent calendar this evening: to approve bills to be paid and to adopt a resolution approving our appropriations limit for the upcoming for the current fiscal year. Yeah, it is our current fiscal year.
Mhm.
Does anyone have any questions or issues with anything on the consent calendar they'd like to discuss? Seeing none, I'll call for a motion to approve the consent calendar. All right,
I'll second.
thank you, Derek. It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar as proposed. All in favor?
Aye.
It's 5-0.
She's waiting. Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead. All right, item number 6, action items. Oh, was there any public comment? I guess I should have asked on the consent calendar.
No problem.
Action item 6.1 as our first of 2 action items: to approve the recommendation of a 10% rental rate increase for district facilities effective next January 1st. There is a report. We'll pass this on to Michelle for a report, but I'd also like to have the relevant committee that has studied this to also be able to participate in the presentation of this.
Yes, so, and I guess I forgot to identify that, sorry, program committee. So I have Ryan here. Ryan actually, he and his staff did the report and gathered all the information, so I'll allow him to present it. It did go to the program committee for input and recommendation before it came here. So Bobby is the chair of that committee. So I'm not sure, Bobby, if you had anything to say or you wanted to wait till after Ryan did.
But you might.
Okay, great. Go ahead, Ryan.
Welcome,
Hi,
Ryan.
guys. In terms of rental rates, our rental rates haven't been raised since 2015. We had planned to change them in 2020, so it had been 5 years then, but COVID obviously threw us for a little loop there. Rentals have been pretty much steadily coming back this year, and we feel like it's time to increase our rates. So we did a competitive market analysis with 7 other local agencies: Concord, Walnut Creek, Brentwood, Danville, San Ramon, Dublin, and Lafayette. And we feel that a 10% increase would be the way to go. We were debating on doing 5%, but we feel like 10 is right in the middle there for us. We are also going with the standard rate for residents. You get a 20% increase for non-residents and a 10% decrease for our nonprofit groups.
And so just in addition to that, so Ryan included, so as exhibit 2 are the current and the proposed rates for our major rooms, and then the same formula will be applied to all of the other rooms. So these are the major, the ones that are, you know, most heavily rented, and then all of the small rooms like public services room, and all of those types of rooms will be applied the same formula. So yeah, so we will be at the top end, and Ryan didn't mention this, but we'll be at the top end of our competitive market analysis, but we also have the best facilities. So we feel that our demand and the market, you know, will still be able to continue to rent at that same rate. And then just to highlight, anybody who's currently in contract will not get a rate increase. So once this is approved, then it will go into effect after the board approves it, or when the board decides they would like to make it in effect, and then anyone in contract after that point will get the increased rates. So that is so anyone, you know, so we rent a year in advance. So, you know, basically anything, you know, through, you know, the last weekend at least is all in contract already. So.
Great, thank you. Bobby, as a chair of that committee, do you want to add anything? Just information?
Yeah, just a couple things. I mean, as Ryan mentioned in our meeting, it's difficult to find actual, you know, like very apples to apples comparison. So they did the best that they could and got a representation of, you know, all the local other competitors, the people that would come to our facilities, where they would go. And the other thing I would add is that Ryan had also mentioned that it's very likely that these other facilities are already calling him to ask what our rates are going to be, because they're all going to move up too. So I imagine that we may still be at the top end, but, you know, others are going to come up, you know, try to where we are, but which I think even bodes, you know, better for us, because we are the best facility. And so yeah.
Thank you. Thank
We
you for
agree
that
it was
input.
time. Board member Wooderson, you had anything?
No, same, you know, I was kind of surprised to learn that other, you know, agencies look to what we do and leading in this area. So it was kind of nice to hear about that. And then, you know, given the inflationary impacts that we've all seen, it seemed appropriate to also raise rates for that reason.
Have a discussion. Yeah, good. All right. Questions for staff before we put it open for public comment? I have a couple. I know that you say that you applied a 10% increase across the board to other facilities as well. While it's certainly true that our community center and our senior and teen centers are state of the art and beautiful facilities, I'm not sure we could say the same for, you know, rooms like Winslow's rooms. And so was there any thought given to whether giving a 10% increase to those less used rooms would perhaps diminish the amount of use that they get? They would kind of put them over market.
Well, I mean, the rates are so much less at those rooms, at that room specifically, the Winslow Assembly Center, that 10% is a lot less than it is on the Prairie Pavilion.
Okay.
Right. So the Prairie Pavilion, you know, the current rate is $290 per hour, and the current rate of the Winslow Center is $75. Right. So 10% increase on the Winslow Center is less than the Prairie Pavilion. That's one of the reasons why I believe staff recommended a percentage, because it would affect, based on whatever the current rate is. And I don't think a 10% increase at the Winslow Center going from 75 to 83 for residents on a Saturday is gonna affect that, so.
And would that also, this is not including the park rentals, the picnic areas or anything like that?
We'll do that separately.
Okay. So, for example, a party at Winslow for kids that would use the playground and stuff, that would just be at that rate. So the
Yeah.
playground is included in the rental?
Yeah.
Or can be if people.
It's an
are
add-on, but
interested
we
to
didn't
that.
raise the add-ons for the picnic, for the playgrounds.
Oh, okay. Well, where is that?
The facility side of it is usually separate from the picnic side.
Okay.
So they have a flat rate that we use to add on to our room rentals. But it can also be rented out just through Parks by itself.
Without the playground.
No, I mean, they can rent it.
Oh,
The
by
playground
party,
is
yes,
by
the
itself.
playground.
Yeah, they can rent it just by themselves and have a birthday party for, like a second
Without-
birthday in the summertime.
Yeah, and we haven't looked at the park rentals yet, because there's some changes we may want to make to that. Right now, our park rental rates are based on an all-day thing, so we're looking at some potential times, so that we can have more people in using the facility and take access of that, so.
My last question has to do with the additional rooms that are now available within the city's boundaries at the library. And I can remember when the library was being designed, there was some discussion about competition with us, or whether people would go to the library because either the rates were less or they were free. So did that factor it all into your calculation about what we should do?
We didn't really listen to the library at all. I went there a couple weeks ago, actually with my kids, like in the middle of the day, and they're generally using their rooms in the daytime for study areas and things like that. I didn't see any of them that were really actually set up for what we do in terms of those types of rentals. I'm sure they might get some business that's coming through there, but for the most part, it seemed like they were keeping all of their exterior rooms just open for public to kind of go in and hang out. The smaller rooms you could, I think, rent for private time, like little office rooms that they have on the left-hand side when you walk in.
Is it just a sign up, or are they actually rented?
You can reserve them. I don't know if there's an
Reserve,
actual rental cost to them, but you can reserve all of the smaller, like kind of little computer rooms. But the Martin's Cove, or Nelis's Cove, and then the two smaller rooms off to the left or off to the right, they just had wide open with, furniture that you can kind of sit in there and hang out, but.
So we don't get the sense there's any pressure coming from the public that they're going over there rather than.
No, and and quite frankly, if those are free for community groups to use, I would like to have a free option to offer some of those community groups who don't want to pay, the nonprofit rate.
Right.
Then it's like, okay, well, then you can go, there is a place for you to do that. But if you want everything that comes with the community center and, and or senior center, any of those rooms, you need to pay the nonprofit rate, which is 10% less than the resident rate, so. So I do like having an option for the community if they are doing that, so.
Co-sponsor groups, and I know that we're not anywhere near at a point of re-examining our policies for co-sponsor groups, but they either got a discount or they were allowed to use the old community centers facilities without charge. And there was a lot of discussion about that at the time when the new community center was being designed and exactly what we would be charging. Is there any kind of thought that if we do re-examine our policy, that at that point we could bring this back to the board to discuss whether there's any reason to make any adjustments for these pricing?
You mean for co-sponsor groups? Yes, we'll do that as part of the co-sponsor
As we
do that policy, as we update that policy.
They currently get like 10% off of all of their like regular meetings. So like the beekeepers are still coming. Rotary's still in there. That might be about it. We used to have a couple more groups, but those have not came back. Like DV Mug at Diablo Valley, Mac users group, they used to have a monthly meeting. They hadn't came back since COVID. So we were giving them a discount on their regular use groups or their regular use rentals.
Because they were nonprofits or because they were
Because they're
co-sponsored
co-sponsors.
groups?
Yeah, so they got 10% off of our nonprofit rate.
Okay.
But
But nothing special for them because of a co-sponsorship partnership relationship.
just a little bit more of a discount, so they got less than the nonprofit rate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if they were a co-sponsored group, and then usually we try to throw in things like the audio video package, or like if they had a kitchen rental, or, we try to do a little bit for them in that sense, but.
But that's been the policy since it.
Yeah, that's in the
since
new-
the-
that's-
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, but we'll look at all of those things in our policy as well, so
Okay,
when we do that.
all right. Any other questions? Sandy?
Question on the nonprofit. So right now, just looking at the weekdays on one of them, it's $100 on a nonprofit towards the bottom of the prayer pavilion.
Mhm.
And it's proposed to go up to 124. But then if it's, does it then go back down? Did you say they get a 10%
For
off of
co-sponsors.
it?
No, that's the nonprofit rate, the co-sponsor groups will get 10% off of the nonprofit rate,
Okay,
so.
okay.
Yeah.
So if Meals on Wheels comes in, they would pay the 124, the
Yeah.
new.
Sandy, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So, some of these rates might look like they went up a little bit more than the others. It was because when we did this last time, we did rounding, so we rounded up some of our numbers.
Oh, yeah,
To get more even numbers,
Yeah.
and what we found was other agencies aren't rounding, so that's why you're gonna see 138, 165, 124.
Yeah.
We actually rounded down last time on the nonprofit, so then when we did the calculations to minus 10% from the 125, is kind of where it got a little screwy.
Yeah, I had seen that and that was fine. I just wanted to get a little clarity on the nonprofit. So thank you.
Good question. All right. Any other questions? All right, we will open any public comment. Any members of the public present like to address this issue? Seeing none. Any emails or hands raised?
No hands raised?
No emails.
All right, we'll close public comment and bring it back to the board for discussion. This is an action item this evening to support this particular proposal. Sandy?
I definitely support it. I think, since 2015, that is has been a deal, especially right a few years pre-COVID. I don't think 10% is out of line considering the length of time and what you're seeing across the board. So I definitely will support that.
Any other comments?
I think I made consistent comments on that we should be kind of optimize not only these rental rates, but just the usage in general. Because a lot of our decisions in terms of budgets and other type of things are based somewhat off of this. And so trying to maximize this, I think, or at least optimize it is probably one of the more important things. And so I would support this as well. And it seems reasonable and people, as long as it's in line with, not too far off with other agencies, people are there for the event and the space, not necessarily the dollar amount. If they want a space, they're gonna take it, whatever the cost.
Good perception.
Yeah.
Anyone else before we call from open? All right, I'll seek a motion to approve item 6.1. The recommendation of a 10% rental rate increase for district facilities effective January 1, 2024. Sounds like we had no concerns about the start date, so we'll just let that stand here.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Bobby. It's been moved. Any second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Derek. It's moved and seconded to approve the 10% rate increase recommended by staff for our facilities. All in favor? Aye. 5-0, Susie? Thank you. Right. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
And thank you to the committee for all the work you put in on this as well. All right. Okay. 6.2 is to authorize the general manager to enter into a professional services contract with Mays and Associates for services related to the comprehensive annual financial report for 3 years, with an option to renew for 2 additional years at the district's discretion at a cost of $22,660 for the initial year of the contract. There is a staff report that is available here. I hope we've all had a chance to read it. Michelle, let's start with you.
Yes, so we got to the 3-year end of our last contract with our previous auditor. Staff had been unsatisfied with the service that we had received the last couple of years, specifically around lateness, availability of staff, as well as, lack of being able to present in person to the board of directors. So, so there we had some concerns. So since we ended the 3-year contract ended, I instructed Chris Petluck to go out and do an RFP for audit services. And I say the comprehensive annual financial report because it really is more than the audit. We've only been receiving the audit, but we really need to receive the comprehensive annual financial report, which is much more than just the audit of the numbers. It includes other things that I'm going to let Chris explain here in a minute, because I just know it's more. So, so we did go out for an RFP. The industry is difficult at this point in time. I think a lot of them are struggling with staffing and being able to take on new clients. We did receive 2 proposals, and we did interview. We invited the budget committee chair, Sandy Vinson, to sit in on those interviews as well and provide some feedback. And so we're confident in Mays and Associates and their ability to provide adequate staffing and meet the timelines and deadlines. They were very comprehensive in their presentation on how they would do that. So I'm just going to ask Chris to explain the comprehensive annual financial report.
Sure.
And then we can take questions.
So the comprehensive annual financial report really should discuss all of the funds that the board has designated for the district, not just the general fund and kind of a rote discussion about each of the numbers, but really kind of talk about where the district is at, how these funds are performing, what they're used for, and not just explain it to the board, but also to the general public, other users, investors through the bond market and so on. They're really looking at that for more detailed information than you would find just in the audit. The audit really just provides attestation that there's no fraud and that the numbers presented are materially correct. Where the CAFR goes further and provides a lot of dialogue and kind of dives into each one of those funds, talks about the bonds, and the district's ability to pay those back, not just providing a schedule, but really kind of digging into the where's, when's, and why's, especially some of the really older things that might be beyond what the general public might remember. So, and generally they are a dense read for sure, but they definitely provide a lot more detail and a lot more dialogue for the public, the board, and other stakeholders.
And if you've seen the city gets a comprehensive annual financial report. And so ours would, while not be as comprehensive, as large as the cities, because we don't have as many funds and we don't have, as many services. But it would be on par with that. So staff believes that is something that we should be doing and not just doing just strictly the audit. So we are recommending the board authorizer to enter into a professional services contract. There is sufficient funds, so the contract came in about the same as what we've been paying our previous auditor. So and so we have enough funds in our operating budget that's already been approved for this contract for the first year.
Before I call for questions, I wanted to ask Vice Chair Vinson, who chairs the budget committee, and you were present in some of these interviews. If you have any comments, just informational at this point, you can certainly augment it later. But
sure. We did the interviews back to back about a week ago.
Yeah,
a little over a week ago, and both firms were prepared. We could have gone either way, but I think in my mind, and I think we were in agreement to go with Mays, and they also happen to be local in Pleasant Hill. The other firm did a good job. They're bigger. Their main office is down in San Diego. They have an Oakland office. It was the cost proposal that we saw later, because we opened that up separately after the interviews, was significantly higher. Yeah. And it was, so they could do it, but I felt the comfort and also there were 3 people that came with the Pleasant Hill Mays and Associates, and they were very well spoken. They basically, we had a sheet of questions. They pretty much answered almost all of them in their presentation. So they did an excellent job of what was happening in that business. They've done not only a lot of San Francisco Bay Area cities, but also special districts. So that was a plus also. And they've also presented at some of the CSDA conferences and that kind of thing. But they were impressive, and they both offered free training. So they'll let us know about if you're interested in this kind of training. But it sounded really interesting to me that that was something that's part of their business model and how they run their business, is they not only continually train their employees, but they also offer training to their clients. So all things considered, and when we took a look at it, I think we made the right decision in selecting Mays. So I'd like to see this one go forward.
Thank you for your input. Appreciate it. Okay, we will we'll see if anyone has questions or comments for Chris or Michelle or Sandy.
I just have one, it was recommendation to authorize for the first year for like a 3-year term. Do you then negotiate the subsequent years?
No, the contract will be including all the years, but we're only paying for 1 year.
For the
But
first year, but is
so
it the equivalent cost for subsequent years?
there's a schedule in there,
Oh,
but yeah, so each,
okay.
so each of the, so there's a cost, so we're approving all of those, so yes, it's very similar.
Okay,
So
gotcha.
that's-
Last page. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so,
And they do it where each year they send an engagement letter.
Yeah.
Addressed to the general manager, we go through it, it talks about timelines and all that stuff, and.
Are you talking about like an upping the engagement every year?
No,
Because we are
no,
committing to.
yeah, no, we're
3-year
committing to that, we're
relationship,
committing to the price that's in their proposal for the first 3 years,
Yes.
Plus 2 additional.
It's just a traditional way that.
It's just a way of them, hey, we're starting the audit. Here's a reminder, here's gonna be our timelines, and this is what we've, what we have. So no, we're locking in the price that's in the proposal.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all I have. Yeah.
Any other questions from board members? I had a couple. The proposal that we received in response to our RFP seems to me to be very staff oriented. I don't recall seeing the word what they would do with the board anywhere in it. And I don't recall seeing that there was anything in that proposal that included coming to a board meeting and making presentation of their findings to the board and to the public. Is that included?
Oh, it's
or not
included, yeah, no, it's definitely included, and so, yeah, no, it's definitely included, they will come to a board meeting, we confirmed they would come in person, and so.
Well,
and
it's
so-
not, it's a huge commute. I
It's,
realize.
yeah, but they will definitely come in person, they understand that, that they actually they work with staff, but they work for the board. And so, we talked quite a bit about what their board presentation might look like and what they would highlight for the board. And so, so that it includes a presentation to the board, as well as, they have questions that they ask of the chair every year. And so, just talking about, kind of things that may be material or evidence of fraud or things like that. So, but they did talk a lot about that. So, but yeah, no, it's included.
Yeah, well, one of the concerns that we had recently was that there didn't seem to be a conduit there didn't seem to be anything in the relationship we had before. Maybe it was because it was only an audit and not this comprehensive product that you're talking about, that really advised us in depth about things the board ought to be looking at in order to protect the public and the funds of the public and the decisions of the board and things like that. So
And that was a
is that-
shortcoming of our firm, of the firm we were engaged
So
with, so.
is that in your view, or Sandy, in your um, evaluation of them, something that would be available more so than what you've experienced in the past? There'd be that,
Yes.
that sort of
Yes,
input
yes.
about things, you know, we don't want to be Bill, and I don't want to be fearful that we might ever be Bill,
No, right.
but we don't really know the questions to ask.
Right, and that's, we talk a lot about that, about, the reason why we have a comprehensive annual financial report is so that the board will have a better understanding of what those
Good.
numbers are. And, and give you a better picture, and then you can see more clearly what it is that you're responsible for, and they can highlight those things. And so, we, the board presentation was a big concern of mine. Because our previous firm, when I first got here, we had that, it was better, than from, what we had, from what I understand previous to that, but I think a lot of that is just the shortcomings of our current firm.
We were very intentional, I think, in our RFP, that this was gonna be.
Yeah.
A real leap forward. Huh?
Yeah,
And it was working with me or for the general manager, it's just
or for the board,
work for the board. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the way the law is written. That's, three people work for the board. It's the general manager and the general counsel and the auditor. It's generally, that's the way it's written into the law. And so I felt,
And I think the other thing that was good with Mays and Associates was their identification to staff when new laws change, laws change, letting us know, hey, this is now, you now need to report leases. And that, by the way, during this in interview process is when I learned about that. So, so there are things that, that the auditors need to be proactive with so that Chris can reflect things in the books accurately. So we're not going back and fixing things. And so I was comfortable that they keep an eye on that and make sure their clients aren't broadsided.
and we wrote it that way into the
Yeah.
RFP. I always feel like when I see that happen during an audit, I always feel like, well, you're just fishing for fees. You could have told me at the beginning and I could have recorded it that way.
Yeah.
Don't like it.
Yeah, and I know you're both aware that there was an issue with signature cards and access to district funds. That came up in the last 12 months, and that there wasn't anything in the audit that warned us about this. And that the response was that the services they were providing did not include identification of statutory issues that might be happening. That was a real red flag. So do you feel that the RFP and the response the proposal that we have is broad enough to be able to say that they are expected and authorized to bring those kinds of concerns to us?
Yes, I believe so. And you're talking about the senior club
I am.
information, yeah.
I am.
That was funky, and we no longer have that issue. So,
Yes, I
but
know.
yes, and so,
But it took you to fix it.
yes, yeah. And so, but yeah, I think, this particular firm will definitely be much more proactive, sort of things.
Okay, and this proposal is broad enough
Mhm, it's broad enough,
that we
yeah.
should expect that.
Mhm.
Good.
A lot of that will come back to staffing, particularly since I've been here, I would work with one person. And then I'd end up working with the general partner. And then I get assigned another person. It's a very big red flag. When you have the general partner, that's who's auditing us. That's who came out and did the field work for us. They don't have any people to dig in and find any of that information out. They're doing a very high level kind of get it through and get it done. They're not digging into anything. He didn't have the time to get into any of that. And that's gonna be very important.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
there's no way you can see that if it's just very high level like that.
Well, I know Vice Chair Vincent shares the concern about those things, and so I'm glad that you had your antenna up as you were interviewing or participating in the interviews.
It was, they definitely went over those kinds of concerns that we had. They covered it in their presentation. We talked about it further. It's something that it was very refreshing to hear that they were going to be looking out for these kinds of things, and that they would be presenting and they would be here in person. And it was, I think we felt really good about it.
Is there anything you want to say for our discussion when we get to that?
No, go ahead.
Okay, good. Any other questions before we open public comment? Thank you, a wonderful presentation, it was really appreciate, and also your putting together the RFP the way that you did to address concerns that you have heard from board members, so I really applaud that. Any members of the public present who'd like to address the board on this proposal?
Nobody on Zoom either.
Okay, no emails, okay, close public comment. Board members, let's talk about this proposal. I think you probably nudged that way anyway, so go ahead, yeah. But, I'm sorry, did you?
I don't have anything
Okay,
further.
anything further?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'd just like to say that, I have inordinate confidence in our general manager, in our, whatever you're called nowadays. I'm sorry, administrative services manager, I think you are. And the chair of our budget committee, and not only formulating the services that we need and that the public should be expecting us to provide, but also in providing a really good, strong candidate from what I'm hearing. The pricing structure seems not unreasonable, you know, it's maybe what, a 1,500 or 2,000 increase.
Yeah, over what we were paying.
Over year or something
I
like
was
that.
pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, it seemed quite.
I thought for sure it was not going to end up that way when we opened, then after we.
Start texting our controller over. All these guys.
They're very selective, and that was one of the
Yeah.
things that came out, and that was surprising to me, and the responses we got, we weren't getting a lot of responses, and it's because of it's the issues we're all having, everybody's understaffed, people aren't getting degrees and.
Well, they said they've been in business 40 years and they're, they're not gonna open, multiple offices and stuff. And yet their client list was impressive as well, especially in the area of special districts. I thought that they know their way around what we do. Any other, Queen?
I actually was very impressed just by this. So I sort of wonder how their presentation went. It sounds like it was very impressive as well too. The price seems reasonable. I would just think the only thing that's in my mind is they're offering a lot more services for not a lot more prices, and that this price proposal is different than the price point, different than the other one, the competing one, right? So I'm just sort of wondering somewhat if it's priced too low actually, and whether we will have to sort of pay.
It included, their cost per load includes all of the requirements of the RFP. So did the other one, and so it was more expensive, but it was expensive. So the other RFP was about 30,000 is where they started and went up. So it was about $8,000. I attribute that to their large firm with a lot of overhead. So, so that was reflected in each of their prices were a little bit more. So, but it seems reasonable. It includes everything that we need. And so I don't anticipate, it's a set price for the year, so I don't anticipate any change orders, so.
I think the confidence comes from the strength of the specifications that were put out in the RFP, and they are very broad, and so it's responsive to it, and the price they quoted is going to cover all those things.
The other thing about the prior auditor, though, is when you read what was contracted for and what the board and the district was paying for, we weren't getting a lot of those services. Particularly like the state controller report. We started getting hate mail that it hadn't been filled out. Well, they were contracted to do it. I'd never filled it out before in my career. And all of a sudden, and I knew I couldn't go to them because they weren't answering my calls. They weren't getting back to me. And so there was services we had contracted for that we were just not getting. Having auditors come on site. An audit hadn't happened in 2 years, so we weren't getting the site visits, but we were paying, paying the contract amount.
It's kind of the flip of Quee's comment here, but yes, absolutely. All right, if there are no others, if there's no other discussion, well, is there any further discussion? Okay, call for motion then.
I'll move that we authorize the general manager to enter into a professional services contract with Mays and Associates for services related to comprehensive annual financial report for 3 years, with an option to renew for 2 additional years at the district's discretion for a cost of $22,660 for the initial year of the contract.
Thank you for that
I'll
motion.
second.
And it's seconded by our committee chair, Sandy Benson. All in favor? Aye. Susie, it's 5-0. Okay, thank you. Oh, she's way ahead of us. Yeah,
Thanks, Chris.
there we go. Yeah. Thank you, Chris, very much, especially for, well, for lots of stuff. Item number 7 is verbal report from committee chair and opportunity to set meeting dates.
We have landed facilities development on August 30th at 12:30. Personnel committee, they met, so we may want to give a report, but they have another meeting scheduled for September 12th at 5 p.m. Budget and finance met today, so I don't know if Sandy has a report. And the program committee, we just moved to 9/6 at 11 a.m. So that is. So we have all the dates set,
All
but
right,
we did have a personnel committee and a budget committee.
so can we just do a short synopsis of,
But we already kind
I'm sorry,
of, sorry.
Program meeting.
Oh, you had a program meeting too, I'm sorry. And you had a program meeting, sorry.
Everybody was
Just
meeting.
wanna-
Everyone came.
The fact that I've been here.
People left out of the party.
Sorry.
short,
Everybody that
short
landed,
synopses, everyone.
everybody that landed facilities met, sorry.
Okay, all right, so this is not to rehash the whole, but just to
Yeah.
give us a summary of sort of what you talked about and in any direction.
Yeah, I'll keep it short because we have the enviable task of reading hundreds of pages of the person. And so we only got through section 400, so we have a long ways to go, but I think it's going in a good direction and we'll bring it back to the board, all the specific changes that we were interested in.
We know it's fairly thankless, but very important.
It's a lot of
so-
reading.
Secretary Tran and I are committed to getting the job done in our.
This
our
year.
tenure.
Yeah,
We don't have to hand it off. to you.
Seriously?
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, no, we're getting it done before they.
Serious?
We're gonna throw a
I'm
party this
impressed. Are
summer.
you impressed?
we're gonna be here all.
You're not gonna inherit this.
That's
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, that's personnel. Put a gold star next to that committee. Budget and finance, that would be Sandy.
Secretary Tran and I reviewed the SIP proposal that was put together by staff. And that was at 10 o'clock this morning. So, and it will be presented to the full board in one of our September meetings. But it was the data that was provided was very comprehensive. We had a few questions which were answered, and we did not have any issues with what was being proposed.
Awesome. Thank you for that report. Program committee, Bobby.
We obviously had the increase in facility rental fees that was on our agenda, but we also did hear kind of the initial conversation about Blues and Brews and wrap up and kind of next steps. So we asked, I think, a significant amount of questions, and that'll be coming back to us. Want to hear that one again before it comes back to the full group for discussion. So
About the future, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Good committee to be at. Yeah. And I think that's it for item 7, moving to item 8, board announcement. Bobby,
I
anything
don't
for
have
us?
any, no.
Derek.
I was at the summer concert series this past Sunday. It was nice. Attended and I saw Nicole and Corey out there, as well, with the Pleasant Hill Rec, representing. I'm excited about, the upcoming community service day, obviously, and the district is kind of participating with a couple of those programs that people can sign up as volunteers for. I'll be participating in the creek cleanup myself, leading that activity. And then,
Call the date.
yeah, it's a September 23rd. Yes.
Is it in conflict with the legislative?
I know it's a Saturday,
Oh, okay, so the legislative day is not a
it's a
Saturday.
Tuesday,
Got
yeah.
it.
So we've got that, to look forward to, as well as, kind of, I'm excited about the haunted trail, coming back again, looking at soliciting people to, put exhibits out there and things of that nature. So something else to look forward to. That's it for me.
Thank you. Quick.
Yeah, just something to also look forward to. Happy Labor Day to everyone, and have a good time off. Enjoy the 3-day weekend. Just reminders, a couple of things happening next month, National Hispanic Heritage Month. So invite everybody to sort of celebrate that cultural richness there. The Mid-Autumn Festival is also happening next month as well. So if you're interested in your mooncakes, make sure you get them because they're going to sell out like they always do every year. That's happening next month. Of course, looking forward to Tinkers and Thinkers again. I'm sure that people are thinking about putting together those thousands of boxes. I suppose.
Yeah.
Probably thinking about it.
Thinking about it, say, okay, how can we wait until
We
that?
got some dates set, so.
Come on,
boxes are in
Nicole.
order.
Nicole.
But yeah,
100
definitely.
toothpicks.
No toothpicks.
No toothpicks? We only ended up using 3 out of each box.
Well, we counted 100.
There will be an extra surprise. Commission on Aging and the city of Pleasant Hill have sponsored popsicle giveaway during that warm day, and so we have lots of people lined up to hand out thousands of popsicles that day as well too. So it'll be fun. Sticky fingers and tinkering. That's the best combination. That's it for me.
All right, Sandy.
I was able to go by movie night for about an hour on August 12th. And there was excellent attendance and the weather was absolutely perfect out there. And got a chance to talk to a lot of attendees that came by the booth and talked to them about the survey. Some had already done the survey, but we can add more if you forgot something. So there was a lot of interest in that. I also got to wear a Mario mustache that I think Lance said I had to put one on. So there's pictures floating around somewhere, I'm sure. And it's been a busy summer and I really do want to congratulate the staff and everybody involved with all the programs and activities and swimming and everything that went on during the summer. And it just, we're kind of to the end and the kids are pretty much back in school now. And I think it was a successful summer. So congratulations to everyone that worked to make all of that happen. All I have.
Nice report. As it turned out, was unable to go to the movie night, but I did get both before and after Facebook intro, whatever you call Facebook's things. And I noticed that there was someone who was responsible or who had contributed, like lit up structures.
Yep.
So it was an awesome addition.
it was a
Was
very
that just
nice addition.
a citizen who came?
So it's our vendor that we use for the holiday festival.
Yeah.
So it's our vendor and he offered to bring them out for free of charge. And so it was a really nice addition. He's also going to bring them out to Haunted Trail. So it'll be a really nice addition to the Haunted Trail as well.
Awesome.
Since we're using the entire park and Haunted Trail, so we have a lot more things. So he's going to bring a whole bunch out.
I
He's
could
also
see a
gonna-
lot of uses. for
Yeah,
that.
a lot, and he's also gonna make sure, we made sure that he's gonna put some of them, because you go through them, some of them, like the larger ones, he's gonna put on a surface that is accessible to those who might have limited mobility as well, so we're making sure that we include everybody in that, so it'll be a really nice addition to Haunted Trail too, so.
Well, I want to echo Sandy's comments to staff about a very, very busy summer, but a very successful summer. And I also have noticed really an increase in free events for the public that I think are great attractions to everything that the Park District does, and a great handshake, I think, with the public that we're going to be going to soon to ask for their additional support for us. And so it's just been a really nice blend of things that staff has dreamed up and made happen this year and this summer. And anyway, thank you very much for all you're doing to not only support the present, but the future of the district as well. And with that, I think it is, let me get the time, 7:53. We're going to adjourn this meeting. Thank you all for being here. And thank you, staff members, for being here as well this evening.
Thank you. I noticed there's a new show in high.